go. I got to lean in.
What is up, everybody? Happy Monday night. Thank you to the viewers that we have that are tuning in right now to the final episode of season 14 of the rebooted Real Housewives of New York City. I have with me Love that is going to be recapping this tonight. How are you doing, baby?
I'm good, Jamie. How are you? Happy Monday.
I'm great. How was your weekend?
It was very relaxing. I couldn't complain. I didn't spend any money, so I'm happy.
That's always a plus. No Halloween festivities, no costumes, no acting a fool.
That's tomorrow. I said one day. I'm over 35 now. I can only do one thing.
I went to a house party, had a little bit to drink, woke up at 9 a.m. and was like, all right, I'm good. Y'all have a blessed day. Stayed the rest of the day on my couch. It was amazing.
He was here and he's gone. That's it.
That's what y'all got out of me. All right, so we've got a couple of viewers in the chat already. Thank you guys so much. Hey, Jazzy Girl. Hey, Sierra Content. Hey, April. Thank you guys so much for joining us. As you can see, it's going to be myself and Love tonight. Cortez is still living his best life, traveling back from the Dominican Republic for his birthday. We got Chase, who is starting his birthday festivities tonight with the kickoff dinner. So feel free to leave him some comments on his socials, comments here in the chat. He definitely will check them once he comes up for air. And we have Chad, who unfortunately could not get away from work tonight. So you guys are stuck with us. But we're going to do things a little bit differently tonight. In just a few moments, rather than having callers at the end of the segment, I'm going to put the live link in and would love for you guys to kind of join us and recap each little segment with Love and myself. So I'll ask a question. I'll let you get your thoughts on this little segment, have you guys be a part of the recap as we go along. So let's go ahead and jump right into this. So Love, we left off with Jessel really laying into Erin and Sai about the way that they discussed her marriage. She is very, very upset that they continue to insinuate that Pavitt was cheating because she was not having sex with him. Both of them are incredulous, saying we never said that, we never implied that, even though the tapes and the footage that is being rolled shows the exact opposite of that happening. Andy does ask that ask Jessel, do you feel like you talked about the postpartum enough? Jessel says, yes, I talked about it along with everything else, but the ladies really don't see it that way. The flashbacks show her discussing the fertility treatments, being self-conscious about her scar, self-conscious about a lot of things. And you and I had kind of discussed in previous episodes, postpartum really was kind of obvious. It was the underlying thing. I think Miss Shantae even chimed in and, she mentioned as a mother, when you have children, postpartum kind of comes with the territory. And to put, fertility treatments that she was having, this long journey to have the children, right. It kind of struck me as weird that the ladies didn't think that would be an issue for Jessel. But nevertheless, Erin says she didn't think it was as bad or to the level that Jessel was intimating in her confessionals. She said that once she saw everything play back, of course she had empathy. And of course she wishes that they hadn't, went as hard. And Sai says that you should have came to us. We were your friends. And Jessel says, well, I didn't know what you were saying behind my back. Why would I come to you? I thought that everything was good. The ladies, again, are insisting, no, we didn't say that. I didn't cross our minds that was what you were going through. What are your thoughts on this?
I had a lot of different emotions going through this, but the thing that stuck out to me the most is I get where Jessel probably got confused on if she did say it a lot or if she didn't, because one thing that we have to remember is there's so much footage that's not aired. There's a lot of filming that they do that never makes it to the show. So she probably thought, like, I've talked about this ad nauseum. What are you guys talking about? But maybe it just didn't make the cutting room floor. So that is something that I reminded myself about Jessel. Like, there's a lot of things that we do have to give the housewives that grace of things not making it on the show. Now, granted, they take it and run with it. Like, that's not what happened. And it's like, girl, but there really are times where, like Jessel's saying, I talked about that a lot. And I actually believe that she did. It just probably didn't make the show. Maybe it just didn't make it as much as we would want to see, where even Jenna and them are like, well, I wasn't sure. Sai saying, you know, why didn't you come to us? You know, we're your friends. What friend? What do you were relentless with me the entire season. I don't think Sai ever dropped the bone that was in her mouth when it came to Jessel at all. So what moment was it safe for me to jump into the double dutch to be your friend? Like, I wasn't sure where we were. That was wild to me. But I'm happy Jessel at least held her ground, and it seemed like this was such a gaslighting reunion of apology tours and saying you didn't say that and then apologizing right after. Well, if you didn't say it, then what are you apologizing for? So it was, but I'm happy that Jessel at least gave us a little bit more background.
I completely agree. You guys, I went ahead and put the link in the chat right now. If you want to join and recap segments with us, go ahead and click on that link. You do not have to be on camera if you don't want. We just want to give you guys an opportunity to give feedback on your thoughts live, as we are doing as well. So, Love, you mentioned that Sai kind of had a bone with Jessel and did not let it go. Andy kind of brings that up, and a viewer called in a question and said, you know, it's interesting. It seems like things kind of went off the rails when Jessel insulted Jenna's gift. And Sai says, absolutely. I thought that Jessel was being extremely rude, and Jenna really wasn't bringing it up. And I thought it was disgusting. So I kind of felt like her sister and had to jump in and protect her. Jenna does say, you know, it kind of felt good. I never really had a best friend or a sister growing up. So the fact that Erin and Sai kind of jumped in my defense, it felt good. But then she does say, you know, I'm sorry that it had to come, you know, kind of at your expense. And one of the things that stuck out to me about Jessel is rather than having an excuse or saying, you know, well, I didn't really mean, I didn't blah, blah. She gets to the point and says, yo, I don't remember a lot of what I said, but I know that I was completely unaware of your feelings. And I'm sorry for not being aware about how you were feeling as I was going off on stuff. You know, there's no, you know, animosity or anything between Jenna or Jessel. So they kind of squash it and, you know, move on. There, you know, a question gets brought up from another viewer that says, you know, there is a double standard. Erin and Sai both kind of want Jenna to share and kind of eat up everything that she shares. But then when Jessel does the same thing, they kind of make fun of her or they don't give her space to do that, which is something we have discussed ad nauseum on the back half of this show. Erin says that the reason she does that is because she feels like Jessel's stories don't feel like they are hers. Erin says that the girls talk about these really hard upbringings and how broke they were and everything they've overcome. And Jessel just kind of says she lived with her uncle and had an internship. And Andy says what we're all thinking, why is it a competition with this girl? Love, you've brought it up in past episodes where it was just, you know, what do you want the girl to do? Like, do you want her to share? Do you not want her to share? You think she's lying, but then she doesn't have space to share because they're not, you know, she hasn't had it as bad as you. The oppression Olympics that these girls want to play, but then get mad when they play is very, very frustrating. And I'm glad to see that we weren't the only
the only ones. Yeah.
The only ones that were seeing that. So before I get your thoughts, Jessel kind of talks a little bit about, you know, she says where my parents come from and their immigration story and stuff very much forms my identity. It's very much a part of my story. It's the color of my skin. It's my culture. And for you guys to make fun of it and belittle it, it's wrong. It felt like shit, you know. This is where Sai kind of lost me. She jumps in and she says, we are not belittling your story. You need to stop saying stuff like that. And I'm like, we saw you belittling your story. The comment of, you know, came over on the Mayflower, which Jessel brings up. The comment of you yelling in her face saying, we don't want to hear about that. We want to hear about you. Like, that is belittling and making fun of her story. Andy pipes in and says, well, you know, she feels like you did. And so I think Sai kind of saw that Andy was like, no, girl, this is what happened. And she immediately apologizes. And she does acknowledge that watching everything back, I think she said, what did she say? It made it seem like we were going a little bit hard. And I'm like, it didn't make it seem. We saw you going a little bit hard. Like, let's not split hairs about what happened. What's going on? What were you as frustrated as I was to hear that explanation?
You know, for some odd reason, and I feel like this would be the only time that this group of women pop into my mind. I don't know why. I thought about Potomac in this scene, and I'll explain further. The one thing that I hate but love about Potomac is the brutal honesty of I don't like her.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like her. She's not my friend. I do not like that woman, which explains all behavior around that person. They can sneeze wrong. I don't like the way she did that. They can look at somebody wrong. I don't like the way she looked at that. Sai just doesn't like Jessel, and that's okay. But to have a justification as to why you treat her this way or why she's not able to do this and that and the third is gaslighting. Just say she's not your cup of tea. You don't like her. You don't have to like everybody. But I wish that New York would take a page from that. Don't make up reasons as to why you don't like Jessel because you guys look crazy. Because it's obvious to the viewers, it's obvious to the cast that it's nothing substantial for you to dislike this girl. Just say you don't like her. That's it. That's it. Because there was nothing that Jessel did in this show that was different than any other girl for her to get that energy from Sai. Outside of Sai, she's just not her cup of tea. Not her cup of tea. See what I did there?
Cup of tea. Cup of tea. I agree with you. And we talked about this at the beginning. I think all of us for episode 1 through 3, we all kind of said oh, Jessel's kind of annoying. Like she comes off very abrasive. She does not think before she opens her mouth. She's the kind of girl that you have to be like, well, now hold on now. Like what did you kind of say to me? So I think that at the beginning, particularly around the Jenna conversation that they had with the gift, we all were kind of like, yeah, Sai, like hold that girl accountable. Jessel kind of was pussyfooting around like, oh, like, I'm sorry, I didn't mean anything by it. But I think it did come to a point where she was like, shit, I'm sorry. Like, I wasn't aware that I was coming off like a brat. And I think that once Sai took that as an opportunity now to just kind of like, okay, I'm just going to pick and I'm going to pick. And I'm going to find something and I'm going to find something. Whereas the rest of us kind of were like, okay, you're annoying, but you're kind of endearing. Like, we kind of like you. You're funny and you're quirky. And I don't think Sai ever gave Jessel the opportunity to be anything other than that spoiled brat who whined about the outfit, Jenna does kind of bring back that conversation that her and Jessel had, saying like, there was just the lack of acknowledgement of the disconnect. She could see where, Sai previously had just said, I didn't want to talk about my mom. I didn't want to have those conversations. And then here you were kind of trying to compare apples to oranges, and it just kind of triggered me. It sent me over the edge, and I kind of lost it, and I took that out on you. Sai does apologize, to Jessel. Jessel is apologizing to Sai, saying, I absolutely did not mean to disrespect your experience. And Brynn still was kind of thinking what we're all thinking, saying, I really wish you would stop apologizing to her after everything that they said. I'm like, Brynn, like, okay, the season's over. We're wrapping it up. Like, stop trying to ignite more feuds.
She can't help it.
She can't help herself. So we go to commercial break, and I say this because I thought this was really cute. Sai and her daughter London had a little commercial with a ninja mixer. And I'm like, okay, look at y'all getting a little brand deal on this ninja
a little
juice
candy
mixer.
Burris. A little candy Burris.
She said, put this kid to work.
Yes.
Let me take my 30%. I thought it was cute, but that also shows me that, Sai, this rebranding of, I think she sees the potential for this show to bring her and her family more money, more endorsements, because before that she was an internet Instagram influencer, which is great. Good for you. You've built an empire from the ground up. But now, baby, you on commercials. You getting TV checks. You getting brand deals. You getting print
coins
deals.
Is different.
Let's reel it in. Let's apologize. Let's apologize.
Bring it in, girl.
Her daughter is super good. Science stupid.
Oh, all that hair is so beautiful.
Her daughter's adorable. Yes. Her daughter looks just like her, like a mini her. And that girl has energy and an attitude to be on TV. So I'm glad that Sai's maximizing this.
Smart.
So we come back. Conversation is still, my God, focused on Jessel's background. Her and Erin is still being like willfully obtuse about like her part in this whole situation. She says, well, you said that you came from nothing, but you really didn't come from nothing because you said you lived off savings and size. You know, Jessel's going back saying, you know, savings could be 5,000, it could be 10. I didn't have a trust fund. I worked through college. I saved my money knowing that I had to get internships. And Erin is still like, well, an internship is privilege. And I'm like, lady, you don't talk about privilege coming from you, man. We're not doing
your entire life.
entire life. Jessel says she shouldn't be made to feel ashamed for her upbringing. And Erin says, I'm not shaming your upbringing, even though she is. And this part kind of annoyed me because Brynn starts laughing and everybody's laughing. But Jessel still looks really, really annoyed, really aggravated about this. And then Erin says, well, do you know where my family came from? And I'm like, no, because you're the only body on this couch who did not share
Jamie's
anything
been
about
wondering.
yourself. I'm like, girl, we all wonder where your family came from. My God. Erin finally apologizes for bringing up Pavitt's cheating after a viewer acknowledged the hypocrisy. This at Brynn for bringing up cheating rumors. What did you? Hey, Sammy. Hey, Latasha. In case you guys are just getting on, there is a link in the channel. I'm going to post it again. Since it's just Love and I, we are not taking calls at the end. We're inviting people to come on and recap little segments with us. I'm going to ask you guys questions. You don't have to be on camera. So if you want to come in and talk about what we're talking about, click that link and I will buzz you in whenever we have the next break. So before we move on, what are your thoughts? What are your thoughts on this little, like, they're just not giving up on the background of Jessel?
It's like, this is interesting because in the beginning, I was one of the ones that was in the minority of, it does annoy me when somebody who doesn't have a struggle kind of chooses, like picks a struggle just to be in conversation. Yeah. And that in itself bothers me, but I don't think that's what Jessel was doing. So in that, just that sliver of not every situation can be painted broad on everybody, I feel as though Jessel really just wanted to just be relatable in the conversation. And you know what, Jamie? It reminded me of Sutton and Diana on Beverly Hills. When Diana was talking about her brother passing away in the war. And Sutton mentioned her dad passing away and how, you know, that type of loss from something so close really hurts you. Diana took that and said that Sutton was being a narcissist and just made everything about herself.
Yeah.
Why? Don't know where she got that. So that situation reminds me exactly of this. Jessel was just sharing, being relatable.
Yeah.
But Sai took it as, oh, you trying to compete? And it's like, people, sometimes you could be read a certain way. And I think Jessel was just read wrong in certain situations in this season. But then once you took a step back, you realize intention is everything. Intention is everything. And I don't think Jessel has a bad intent bone in her body.
I agree. So it looks like we have Latasha that's going to join us. So I'm going to get her recap. Hey, Latasha, welcome to the show. So I'm going to ask you, what are your thoughts so far? Do you think Jessel is deserving of all of the backlash and kind of the vitriol that she's getting for attempting to relate, or do you think the ladies are being too hard on her?
No, I agree. I think it's all deserved. I agree with what she said. She picked one struggle in her life and used that to push her story that isn't hers. It was just so weird. I don't like her. I don't know. There's nothing about her that I find likable. I don't know. Listen, I'm all about Jenna. I love Jenna. I just want a show about Jenna. They don't compliment her at all. I liked Erin. I did. And I feel listen, I don't know why. I always pick the person that nobody likes and they're my favorite. I don't know why. But I'm like this on all the shows. But I understand what they're talking about like, she doesn't make sense. I still don't understand. And I listened to the story she gave. It took her a whole year to tell her story. It's like she could have just said she was a straight A student. She got all D's. Like, tell us about you. I understood what she was saying in that moment. And that's what I wanted to hear. I love talking about your parents. Love all of that, but it was still not about her. It was, I was an intern and whatever, you know what I mean? Yeah, I don't like her. I don't know. That's just me.
Look, I love having this conversation because most of the people in the chat absolutely have a soft spot for Jessel, except like Sammy and Antonio. So I have to ask, Sammy, is this you? Is this your burner account?
It is not.
He's calling with an AI bot. He's calling with an AI bot for sure.
And you know, I can understand, Natasha. I think that we agree, like we said earlier, at the beginning, we were all like, oh my God, Jessel's a little bit annoying. But
yeah,
that's to see her. She reminds me a lot of myself as somebody who is very long-winded, as somebody who takes a little bit to land the plane and get to the point. I understand. I'm just like, I'm a storyteller. Just let me tell my story, and I'll eventually get to where I want to be. I'm very Doritable. I'll eventually get to where I need to be. But I appreciate the honesty. Thank you so much, because here at the Lean, we do like to see all points of view, even if they are incorrect. Just kidding. All right, Natasha, thank you so much. We appreciate you joining. I'm going to let you hop off and we can continue the recap. If you want to chime in on another subject later on, feel free to click the link and jump back in.
I will.
Thank you. That's interesting. I love that. So to people who say that we are biased, because last week we had a comment on another franchise that said we are very biased and we need more diversity in opinions. So there you go. We got
interesting. There we go.
So let's see. Sai now is in the hot seat for calling Jessel a liar about the timing of the Pavitt trip. Sai says, it's sticking to the guns of saying Jessel said that he was leaving next week, even though we see on camera Jessel's words were he's leaving in a couple of weeks. He's got the ticket. Andy asked her, you know, would it be considered a lie, or maybe she was confused about the timing of it? Sai says it's a lie. I took it as a lie. It was very confusing. And Jessel asked why she was so invested. And Sai agrees. I was very invested. I don't know why I was invested. It was a stupid thing to be invested about. She just kind of says it was confusing, and I can't agree. You know, Jessel did not do herself any favors in this part, because she Jesseled her way into this. It was kind of stuttering, and I think that was less of a lie and more of Jessel maybe not really caring enough to ask Pavitt exactly what he was doing, because we can all agree Jessel can be a little self-centered, a little self-focused. But it didn't make sense. Sai says it didn't make sense. But she does apologize. Again, this is like I need to be keeping like a whiteboard of how many times Sai has apologized for her behavior, because she apologizes and says, it didn't make sense. However, I should not have commented on your marriage. I definitely don't want to upset your marriage. Jenna says, I can understand how Jessel would feel ganged up on, how the ladies were going really hard. And then she supports and says, I have plenty of friends who do mileage runs. So I didn't understand why everybody was confused. And I was like, yes, slide that in that you're super rich and that your friends are super rich. You better wave that black Amex.
You better flex talk.
Big flex. She's like, oh, we do mileage runs. It's no thing. Like, I love it.
She's like, what's the big deal?
What's the big deal? And that's how the rest of the ladies, the budgeting a little bit differently than Pavitt and Jenna. But at the end of this segment, Jessel and Jenna and Erin say it's kind of all water under the bridge. The ladies definitely hang out and have been hanging out. And I am glad to see that. I'm glad to see, because really, honestly, I thought Erin would be the one that would really hold the grudge, because we see she's done that in the past.
Yeah.
So yeah, I really think that good for Erin and Sai. I think that this entire reunion, the theme was just like, baby, take feedback. Watch yourself, watch social media, take some feedback. So now we get to focus on Sai's life as an influencer. We see in her package, the big thing was talking about her mother's alcoholism and addiction. And the takeaway was she wanted to remember the good of her mother's legacy. And I think in this package, again, it softened me up to Sai again. it was, okay, all the yelling, all the stupidity about cheese and being hungry and sit at the core of it, you are kind of a broken woman. You've been through a lot. And so I can understand where you kind of just like flip. I can understand. And she admits that. We get a little bit more into her mom's mental illness and struggles with alcohol. And honestly, my heart broke for Sai because you could tell speaking about it, she doesn't do it often. And just seeing her break down about how having to be a kid and go pick up her mom from the hospital or from jail because her mother was drunk in the park and hurt herself. Once she got older and making money, having to pay for her mother to get in and out of rehab and really debating like, oh my God, like I'm thinking I'm throwing money in a problem and just hoping that she's going to get better, that it's going to fix stuff. We find that she invited her mother to live with her and her husband, but her mother got entirely too drunk in front of her children. And finally, Sai's husband said she's got to go. And I almost started crying. It like I hated this when she said, like, I kicked my mom out of my house and 3 months later she was dead. Like, how is this not my fault? And it humanizes Sai because I don't think we've seen a housewife on shows get that in depth of just like the dysfunction that they've come from. We've seen different varying struggles and stuff, and people saying they grew up poor, they overcame. But I think Sai being incredibly open about her mother's addiction and mental illness will then start larger conversations of collateral damage of children of alcoholics and having to grow up as the parent and the caregiver of somebody who either is incapable or unwilling to care for themselves. What are your thoughts on this? This is a heavy, heavy topic.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Yeah, goodness. It's interesting because you would think that this review didn't really have a lot in it, but as you go scene by scene and girl by girl, it has some layers to it. It has some layers to it, which is good. I think this part, when I agree with you 1,000%, it showed. It's always good to see the soft side of the villains. You know, it reminded me of like when Kenya was telling her story about her mom. We know how Nene is when it comes to the topic of her mother. Which is interesting how it's always just something about the mamas. I don't know what it is about the mamas. This hits home for me solely because like I've shared on this platform before, I lost my mother when I was 12. So I do know how it is to not have a parent or lose a parent at a young age. So my heartstrings tugged a little bit. I did tear up on this. I was actually surprised about myself, but I realized I'm still human.
Yeah.
So I got a little bit sad. I had to wipe something away. I don't know. But my God, just to imagine, gosh, that must be hard. Your husband having to tell you that your parent can't be in your house. My God. I think that Sai definitely needs therapy. I know she joked around saying that the reunion was therapy. This is the first time she's doing therapy. And I thought it was cute. I chuckled too, but she needs some help. I think, a lot of things that happen to you in your childhood will carry on into your adult life. And I think once you acknowledge it, you should definitely seek help. It's 2023 now. There's therapy online. There's therapy over the phone. It's affordable. I hope that she does change a little bit as far as seeing herself in this season and that carry over into the next for her. But this scene was very devastating. Like Andy said, he's like, this is the saddest reunion we've ever had. I've never ran out of tissues before. Ever.
I agree. Like, you know, they say hurt people. And, you know, when you're a child going through that trauma, like you either become so introverted that you just like we see Jenna, who, you know, doesn't interact with people a whole lot, who doesn't know how to open up to people and is more introverted in this and is a little more cautious with how she shares versus Sai, who is very similar to Jenna, where she doesn't really open up to people, but it's an angry push away. It's a very visceral reaction to certain things. So while, you know, somebody in the comments said that it doesn't completely excuse her behavior, it gives a little more insight to like, oh, this is part of the reason why you act the way that you act. It doesn't give you a free pass because, I mean, you're a grown woman and you can actively decide not to act a certain way. But I want you to see yourself. And we joke around and say that sides, it's her apology towards blah, blah, blah. But I genuinely think that she saw herself and was like, oh God, like.
Can you imagine? She was
that
like
who I
looking
was?
at these
Was that
clips
how I
like,
was?
I'm so sorry, you guys. Like, my bad. Well, it's like the saying, Jeannie, it's like the saying, trauma explains your behavior, it doesn't excuse it.
Oh, I like that. Yeah, because we're all at the end of the day, we have choices. How we respond to negativity and hurt says more about us than it does the people who have inflicted on that. So we have a choice on how we respond to trauma. And thank you for coming to our TED Talk. We appreciate you guys.
We'll be here every week.
I'll be here on Wednesday. We'll be here on Wednesday for Beverly Hills. So come back. Maybe somebody has trauma on that show.
Come back.
All right. So we move over to Brynn, and I see people in the comments on one thing about the comments, they are not on Brynn's side. Brynn talks more about her background, being a biracial girl, her upbringing, her Mimi, letting her go to the black hair salon so she can kind of get that experience. She says she got a lot of biracial women in her inbox saying, thank you so much for talking about that. Thank you so much for kind of shedding light a little bit on this. She talks about the couple of months she had with her father before he passed away, which again, I was like, my God. She was very honest and very open, saying like, I stupidly, even after this man had no desire whatsoever to be in my life up until that point, the last 3 months, I threw myself all over myself to try to forge a relationship with him. I was up there every single weekend trying to forge a relationship. And I think the thing that got me, like, I was like, oh, when she said, my dad promised to take me to dinner, but we never had the opportunity to. And I was like, oh my God. Sai says Sai said that her and Brynn kind of forged a friendship because she sees a lot of herself in Brynn. And they definitely have that bond. And Brynn said, well, this is why it hurts so much, for you just to kind of react the way that you did to me. You threw it all away over some like stupid little thing. And Sai acknowledges, she said, I'm quick to anger and I absolutely cut people off. I don't have patience for adults with bad behavior. And I'm like, ooh, calls coming from inside the house. But she says, I've never been to therapy, but the reunion is therapy for me. She apologizes again to Brynn. And this is an interesting, Artworld says the fact that Sai dismissed Jessel's backstory about, her parents, this is where my parents come from. This is couldn't see the importance in being an immigrant while using her mother as a backstory is a little bit hypocritical. I agree, Artworld.
She just don't like her. She just don't like her.
She just don't like her. And
that's
okay.
it.
Well,
she don't like the girl.
Her now.
It's okay.
She likes her now. Anything you want to add on Brynn's little package right now?
Yeah, I thought it was really cool for us to find out what she identifies herself as. I thought that was a good question. I didn't see that coming from a mile away, especially coming from Andy. So I thought that was educational. Because it is important to know what you identify as you walk through life. I thought it was sweet. I mean, Brynn's story is, again, kind of like you said with Sai, there's just certain moments with castmates where it humanizes them just a little bit. So, yeah, so I'm like, oh, Brynn, but that's about it. She clicked up for me, but then started clicking down as the season went. If you guys remember,
you were a big Brynn fan.
Biggest of the bigs.
My girl, that's my girl. That's my girl.
That was my girl. Now I'm like, yeah.
The season went on, you were like, yeah, that's my girl. That's my girl.
I'm like,
all right, guys, if you're just new, I have the link in here. We're doing things a little bit differently tonight. Click on the link if you want to recap segments with us, if you want to give your 2 cents on stuff that we're talking about. We're not going to take callers at the end since it's just us two. We're going to be talking to y'all throughout the entirety of the show. So just as quickly as Brynn got me on her side with that sob story, we switch gears and we talk about Gideon's penis. And I'm like, my God, we can't even go 30 minutes without a sex joke. My God. We find out all 3 of the engagements happened after the men and Brynn had broken up. And she actually said something pretty insightful. She says, why does it take you losing me for you to realize that you need me in your life? And I was like, absolutely. Brynn, you are a lot smarter than I've been in my relationship. So I'll give you kudos for that. I'm glad that Andy spent some time allowing her to talk about her background and her job. We find out that she was head of a communications at a tech startup that got bought out. She got a nice little payout for that. She does marketing and consulting. Ubah kind of chimes in and says, like, yo, she's a genius when it comes to, creating a business plan and giving me some solid business advice. And we find that Brynn is really trying to push her into expanding her empire and move. So Brynn plays the dumb, kind of sex-crazed vixen. And you know what? Duality. She may be both. Two things can be true at the same time. But I like the end of this little package. We find out that Brynn's got a resume. And Brynn's going to talk her shit because Brynn has the credentials to back it up. So good for her. I'm glad this was brought up, the D-word gate, because if we remember, Brynn and Jessel were both adamant that the D-word divorce was never said in this argument. We see the flashback, and Brynn acknowledges, like, my God, I was mortified when I saw that.
Yeah, girl.
Erin acknowledges that the reason she got so upset was the D-word was a trigger for her. And I'm like, yeah, we could see that, given your husband talking about wanting to sleep with other women, and if you ever got sick, he would leave you. I can understand that. She says it's a sensitive topic. The fact that it was mentioned at my vow renewal just was kind of a trigger for me. Andy asks, while Brynn and Aaron's friendship is so hot and cold, and before anybody could answer, Ubah's rolling her eyes and hops in and is like, this is so gross. They disgust me. I hate this. Everybody's a little confused, but Ubah says, I hate this friendship because Erin talks about Brynn basically like a dog. And Brynn just forgives her and says, Brynn, whenever you get mad and you talk about people, at least you stand in it. You own it. You're not trying to be underhanded. She says, Erin lies. She gaslights everybody. Your friendship makes me want to puke. Brynn clicked down in this for me, because Brynn was kind of making a face like, well, you don't have a right to say that, blah, 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 instead of being like, yeah, girl, Erin talks about you like a dog. Erin agrees that she's a little bit sensitive, sometimes says things, but she genuinely cares about everyone. And if she messes up, she is sorry. Brynn and Erin say their friendship is great. They've worked through everything. And Ubah is like, fine, okay, Abe should convert to Islam and just marry both of y'all. Do you think Brynn gives Erin passes for treating her like shit whenever she feels like?
She does, and I'm trying to figure out why. I'm waiting for the moment to be revealed as to why, because I do think it's interesting how much Erin skates. But it seems like Brynn will call out Sai fast. She'll call out Ubah quick. But for some reason, she just gets away with things. And on the flip side of that, it's fascinating because Brynn brought that up in the season. She's just like, why is it always me? I feel like, who did she say? Oh, Jenna. She's like, I feel like Jenna can get away with murder, but I can't do anything right. So I think it's interesting because that's how we feel about Erin. Brynn, why do you give her passes? So is it the same way or just a shoe on the other foot? It's interesting. But Brynn 100% favors Erin. I just don't know why yet.
Yeah. It's interesting. I agree, because it's like you're not seeing that you're participating in the same behavior. Erin really has gotten away with a lot of stuff. But the minute that Ubah was the one person to really, really stick it to her, and Jessel really later on in the season, but Ubah came in hot when she was like, I do not like your behavior and what you're doing. Now all of a sudden, we talked about this. This is the worst fight of my life, and she's treated me so horribly. And I'm like, girl, you ain't never had anybody argue with you? Like, what the hell?
Oh my God.
So I completely agree with you. Erin does get passes. Brynn, there's something going on where Brynn genuinely wants to be liked by Erin. And I don't think Erin's a bad person. She's not my cup of tea. I'm sure, every trash can has its lid. But I don't understand how she continues to skate by with the stuff that she says about people and just kind of chalks it up to, oh, well, when you're mad, you say things about people.
That's it.
Yeah, that's it. When you're mad, you say things about people.
No big deal.
So in Ubah's package, obviously we knew the big things were going to be Ubah hot, her temper, and phone gate. Jessel is really right out the gate from the package to say, I want to point out the phone was not gone 45 minutes. It was gone for a few hours. The thing that I liked about Jessel is out of everybody here, Jessel really had Ubah's back. Jessel was like, you're wrong. This was it. She was one to pipe in and said, you didn't present this right. This is really what happened. Erin still was like, well, I mean, it wasn't that long. It was, and everybody's like, no, it was a couple hours. You had her phone for a couple hours. Andy asked the ladies who thinks Ubah overreacted. And it was Brynn and Jenna. And I was like, Jenna, no, please no.
Yeah,
no.
I said, oh.
Not Jenna. But, you know, Jessel, again, is very vocal saying, not me, girl.
Not me, girl.
She overreacted. And I'm like, that's it. Stick with it.
Jessel said, I know my reunion pact. We made one, obviously.
Exactly.
Not getting touched.
Exactly. Andy brings up like, hey, you know, or Ubah, excuse me, brings up saying, you lied. You said that you text Jessel that you had the phone. And Jessel was like, she did absolutely not text me. She said, well, you know, I texted the group chat. And she was like, you did not text the group chat. It was an emoji. You never told anybody. She was like, well, it was implied. And I'm like, Erin really lives her life off implications and guesses. Like, she really holds people to a standard that she doesn't hold herself in. If anybody else implies something, no, that's not what you said. You said this, but she's full of implications. Andy, I will appreciate Andy, really is like sticking on it. Like, okay, but did you say that you had the phone? What was the emoji? Even if at the end he kind of was giving us offside to Erin. Ubah said, no, baby, I don't speak emoji. You could have sent me a smiley face with the phone. You did not tell me you had my phone.
Exactly. And nice try. It was
nice try. Erin does say, you know, I probably should have came and gave your phone back sooner. You know, she apologizes, and Ubah still is kind of on it, saying like, it wasn't even that you took the phone; it's that you lied, you gaslit me, and then you didn't own up to it, and then you turned it on me like I was, you know, acting crazy about the whole thing. Andy asked if anybody felt like it was kind of a gang up towards the end of it. And Sai is quick to say like, yep, it absolutely was a gang up. And I was like, you would know, you participated in a few. Everybody feels bad for Erin and how Erin felt, but nobody feels bad for Ubah. And Ubah does bring this up. She was like, I'm just sick and tired of people, you know, never having my back. I'm so kind to everybody. Like, I don't get angry with people. When I do, you deserve it. Nobody had my back in this situation. Brynn, every single time that Ubah tries to kind of like explain herself or kind of go on, and I had to remember through this thing, I thought Ubah may be overreacting. Why is Ubah not? But I forget that there's a language barrier. So
yeah,
I can tell through this, she's having a little bit of a difficult time trying to find the right words to articulate why she was mad. And I can only imagine that frustration making you even more frustrated of like, y'all aren't getting what I'm telling you. Like you're either you're purposely not getting it or you're not understanding what I'm coming from. And Jessel says, we should have had your back a little bit more. I completely agree. Ubah says, you know, you saying that this was the worst fight of your life hurt me because like, you're my friend. I thought I was going to lose our friendship. And you're over here saying this is the worst fight that you've ever experienced. The two of them kind of make up. Ubah's crying. It turns to Jenna now, you know, with her saying that she was Team Aaron. And I think that whenever we recap that episode, all of us were kind of like, ooh should have stayed out of that one. Should have stayed out of that one.
Should just drank your martini, honey.
Yep. Jenna kind of explains that this was kind of her way to be funny. It was a play on words. Ubah hot. She says, I saw a little bit of the switch, but Ubah is standing on it saying, do not confuse assertiveness with getting angry. And I was like, ooh, tell her that. And this is where Brynn lost me. Brynn jumped in and said, no, you got angry. And then somehow the two of them jump in it. They're cussing at each other. They're threatening each other.
Side by side, might we add.
Side by side.
Side by side.
It starts it with Ubah said, you know, I have how I like to be talked. I have certain parameters with my family, how I have to check in. Maybe you don't know how to be loved, but over here in my square, in my square.
In Ubah Hot Square.
In Ubah's Hot Square. I know how to be
Ubah's
loved.
Hot Square.
That sets Brynn off. Brynn is Irish, and she puts people in the hospital, or Ubah puts people in the hospital. Brynn puts people in the cemetery. Brynn is from Kenya. She'll drop kick you. Like, I did not see this little fight going on. What are your thoughts on the chaos? Or did you feel? Let me say this: did you feel the other ladies still were purposely not understanding where Ubah was coming from, or do you feel Ubah overreacted? Or can two things be true at once?
Goodness. I want to say two things can be true at once. I want to say my stance changed. It's changing slightly on this, solely because I found out that it wasn't 45 minutes. Yeah. Now that I know that woman's phone was gone for more than 2 hours, Houston, we have a problem.
Yeah.
It changes everything for me. I was very adamant about Ubah overreacting. I really was. Yeah. But this changes so much for me, and I'm so upset that Erin was able to gaslight the amount of time she had the phone, even down to 2 minutes. This woman changed a 4-hour situation down to 2 minutes.
Yeah.
While filming, talking to the phone with her dad. That was crazy to me. So I'm just taken aback at the accurate time. That blew me away. I think Brynn needs to shut the hell up when Ubah's talking, because you are in elbow space. So you can I'll get you with an elbow real quick. Like, you're way too close to somebody being combative to be talking. You are not across the couch. I thought it was interesting that production, I don't even think production saw it coming. I don't even think they knew what kind of time Ubah was on with this reunion. Yeah. They couldn't place her anywhere on that couch. They just needed to put her and Jessel on a couch by themselves. That's the only way Ubah would have been happy. She didn't want to be next to none of them hoes, especially Brynn. I was like, Brynn, you better stop talking. It was, I think I agree. Two things can be true at once. The language barrier, thank you for reminding me about that, Jamie, because I myself completely forgot. I feel like I can understand Ubah so well. So I didn't grasp the language barrier, where it could be her just frustrated that they're not understanding what she's saying. And that's natural. And then on top of that, just being upset at the situation. And on top of that, Erin gaslighting her, which I'm so happy she did the timeline correctly. Like, girl, you came down the stairs and started with me. You wanted the smoke. She made sure to clear that up. So I agree. Two things for sure can be true at once.
All right. It looks like we have a caller that wants to lend to this discussion. I'm seeing in the comments, people are very split. Some people are making very good points. Latasha said her phone would still be in that cab if Erin didn't take it. I wish Erin would have pointed that out. But that's the thing. Erin did have pointed out because she kept her phone for 4 hours. People are saying, L Vision says, Ubah sat on the stage and explained exactly why she was upset. At this point, anybody who can't see why she acted that way is just hell-bent on not understanding. So, all right, let's go ahead and bring our caller in. Is this Sierra Content?
It's Sierra Content.
Hey, how are you?
I
So
am good.
Tell us, what are your thoughts on PhoneGate? What do we got?
What you got?
So PhoneGate, in particular, I do feel like while Ubah, she did kind of, I'm not gonna say she overreacted, but I'm not gonna do the semantic things. She kind of did have a reaction that people kind of were taken aback by. But Erin was totally wrong with the way that she came in addressing her. Don't you be saying my name. What you gonna do? What's gonna happen if she don't? What exactly is gonna happen if she doesn't stop saying your name? Like, she totally started that whole thing, and Ubah reacted to that. So that's how I feel about PhoneGate. I really kind of wanted to dig into my girl Brynn, who I thought I was gonna love.
Do it. You've been very vocal. Every time you've called in, you said, like, I want to like Brynn. I'm giving her a chance. She's doing this. So to see your journey through the season, let's get into it.
Jamie, you gotta be so happy. Jamie, stop being so happy.
I love this for you.
I'm happy he pointed this out, because I guess, I don't have good discernment, because Brynn is a conundrum. Well, she's more than a conundrum at this point, because I feel for her story, with her parents' situation, but she cannot be serious with the way that she treated Ubah at the end of the show. Like, what was she on? And even she can't be, like, even before that, it was like the whole like reunion. She had this like stupid little smirk on her face, like, yeah, I'm on this show, guys. Like, yeah, I'm like here and I made it. And it's just like, She was giving me contrived the whole time. Like, why did you feel the need to interfere with Ubah's convo? There was no
Yes,
reason for Brynn to
right.
feel chagrined or like feel upset because the combo really didn't have nothing to do with her. And that brings me to the ultimate question: why is Ubah someone that Brynn felt the need to stand up to, as someone said in the chat? She
Mm,
Mm,
never has that smoke for anybody else on the cast. The only person she ever really
mm.
got loud with was Ubah. I'm just gonna say it. She
mm.
felt like a Karen. It felt like she was acting like a Karen. Brynn, you're a Karen. That's what I feel like. It was like you're trying to use your blackness, which she don't even have a real connection to. You're trying to use your blackness to intimidate another black woman.
And she
And
did
it's
throw
like,
that in. She did throw that in. You're right. She did.
you're like, what are you doing, baby girl? Like all the
Don't do
respectful,
that.
the little bit of respect that I have for you, it's just I don't know, I don't know, I don't know anymore. I'm like really upset with Brynn because why? And I'm really upset with Bravo because why does Bravo keep on hiring these people who make all these microaggressions that incense the black community like this? Like, why is this always the thing with Bravo? Like,
That is
why are we
true.
hiring a Brynn
That is
or a Jenny
true.
Wynn? Or when Dorit was talking
Ooh,
about, oh, my
ooh.
mama got her black best friend, and Butlers and maids was all black and all this stuff. Like, why is this always the thing with Bravo? That's my ultimate thing. But
Mm.
So tone
as
deaf.
far as what I did like about the reunion, I do feel like Ubah, she stood on business. She
Mm-hmm.
definitely handled it. And I completely understand where she's coming from. I hope all the other people who had such a difficult time understanding can
Mm,
finally turn their brains on and realize where she's coming from. But I doubt it with this fan base
mm.
because ultimately, I just feel like Bravo. Why this again? Why this
Yeah.
again?
It's interesting because Uba and Uber and Brynn made up very, very quickly, as we see in here. They're friends, they're whatever. They've been hanging
Hmm.
out since then, but you make a very good point. Sai got up in her face at her own birthday party and cussed her out, spit all over her, talk about, you don't need to tell a story. And all Brynn did was cry and like, oh my God, I don't get it. Like, if anybody talked to me like that at my
That's
birthday
true,
party, oh,
Jeannie.
absolutely not.
That is true. At
Erin
her
punked her out.
birthday.
She kind of got a little loud with Erin about the D word gate, but at the end of the day, she forgave Erin in a heartbeat. And even if it was just a little misunderstanding, that this entire reunion, Brynn was backing Jessel up, saying, "Don't let them treat you like that. Don't let them talk to you like that. Why are you apologizing to them?" But the minute that Ubah is kind of like, "Yo, nobody had my back. I'm trying to tell you how I feel," she's like, "Well, you were too loud. You were angry. You were this." Like, and a viewer pointed out, what are your thoughts on the viewers taking the angry black woman trope? Sai was very smart when she said, "I'm gonna let Uba handle that." I don't like you can't when we've said this multiple times. Do we think that she overreacted? We can sit here all day arguing was it warranted, was it not warranted? At the end of the day, you do something to me, you don't get to police how I react to what you do to me, to a
Period.
level of
Preaching.
disrespect that you've inflicted
Preaching.
on me. Erin disrespected me. If you say it was a prank, you could once you saw me get upset, you could have ended this shit in 3 seconds to say, Uba, Uba, my bad. I have your
Exactly.
phone. Erin
Thank
chose
you.
to gaslight that lady to the
Mm-hmm.
point where we see her get pissed. Because before then, Uba was keeping to herself. Uba was like, I don't, even Jessel confirmed. She said, Uba was in upstairs saying, I do not want to go downstairs until I've calmed down. I don't want to
Right.
get into
She
an
skipped
altercation.
breakfast. We found out
She
she
said
skipped
she skipped
breakfast to calm
breakfast.
down. Mm-hmm.
So I agree with you. I hate that it had to show and the big confrontation, the big blow up came from a black woman.
Hmm.
But at the same time, I'm more upset at the reaction of the white women to like aghast in horror, like, how dare you? Like, what is going like,
I
girl,
don't know if I
please. You
was just
telling me you never
shocked.
argued? You
I don't
never
know if I was
argued?
just shocked because it's
Yeah.
like old at this point. Like that's what I expect from Housewives at this point. You're gonna single out the black woman for doing something, and it's just gonna be normal until somebody fixes it. I don't know. And as far as the fans, saying that she's the angry black woman, is that what you asked me?
Yeah, like the some one of the callers said,
The
ask
trope.
Sai and Uba both. What do you think about the trope of the angry black woman? Because Sai lost her shit multiple times, but Sai didn't have anything to say about how she was
Hmm.
being portrayed, and certainly didn't defend Uba by saying, "I can understand why she gets mad. I can get it." Blah blah blah. She was very quiet, very mute on that.
I think, yeah, I think culture just plays a part in that, and also, um, what's the right word? Not colorism, but like I think, the dark skinned ethnic people, they have a different experience than fair-skinned ethnic people, and I think that also plays a part in it as well. And I don't even know, man. I just don't even know if I'm gonna watch season 2 because I don't want to have another race war. Like Bravo is like inciting this huge race war with like all their shows. I can't. But
Just subtly, just with certain picks and casts and
yeah,
it's been
right,
rough.
Sarah.
New York's been rough.
Thank you so much, Sierra. Let's go ahead and wrap this up. If at the end of this you want to jump back in and give some stuff, we'll have the links again. But thank you so much for calling in and thank you for supporting us through this entire season. I will say that I am very, very happy that Andy read a comment from a fellow African woman that said, Ubah didn't overreact. Why are you guys policing how she reacts?
I love
She's
it.
African. We're very we're very passionate. We're very, we don't take disrespect, and Ubah tried to explain that a lot of times. I genuinely think we've seen multiple white ladies across multiple other shows get that heated, scream, fight, throw their little tantrums, and it's always just like, all right, girl, you did. How many times has Tamra Barney or whatever her name is now, Judge, screamed and gotten in people's faces, and
Teresa,
everybody's just like,
everybody in Jersey, every white woman in Jersey has thrown a drink or flipped a table. What are we talking about?
Come on, nobody. The word overreact doesn't even.
It doesn't exist anymore.
It's just exactly. Like that's a housewife.
Exactly.
BKZ Empress says, however, when Ubah told Brynn to shut up, she sure did get quiet.
Listen.
And did.
She said, you shut the... And Brynn was like,
All right, so let's wrap this up. Ubah does acknowledge that seeing the last bit of the episodes kind of brought up the emotions again. It got her activated. Andy said, you needed to get this out. But then he gives advice to all the housewives. He said, rewatching the show is going to bring this up. How you navigate this, and hopefully you leave everything that happened this season here, leave it here. Please don't let it be carried out of this room. Ubah and Aaron both say that they moved on. Ubah says you hang out, you agree. What I've noticed about Ubah is once she gets stuff off her chest, she's like, okay, we're good. Just give me my space to speak. Give me my space to say my space to speak my piece, and we're good. And you can tell that she feels like she's not given that until she's pushed into a corner where now she's got to blow up.
I hate that for her. And I hope they navigate better in the future.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Jenna takes a quick time to say, Ubah, if I had any idea how much this had affected you, I would have been more supportive. And I am sorry about that. Ubah accepts the apology. Andy then, being very, very messy, says, I want to, Jenna, you were a little upset earlier about Ubah's comment. I'm like, Andy, my God, they just made up. And he's speaking of the comment about Ubah saying nobody wanting Jenna on the show, which she was speaking or Sai brings up, right before filming even started, her, Erin, Jessel, and Ubah were all hanging out. And Jenna gets brought up, and it was said that they were worried that Jenna wouldn't gel correctly with the group. And once I hear that they said that, it was like, oh, well, that makes sense. Because if you remember at the very beginning of the show, we all had the same thing. Jenna is the name. She's this big fashion industry heavy hitter. How is she going to gel with these people who, for all intents and purposes, aren't on her level? Ubah says everybody kind of owns it. They're like, yeah, we absolutely said that. Jessel says we were making assumptions and we were dead wrong about those assumptions. Everybody's kind of apologizing, and Ubah's like, oh, yeah, my bad. I shouldn't have brought that up. I see how it's done.
Oops.
Jenna says, thank you. This is the bad thing about assumptions. You assume somebody's going to be one way, and then you find out that they're definitely not that way. And it's kind of hurtful, but I appreciate it. So we wrap this up. Everybody ends with a toast. Andy asks what everybody's learned. Sai says that she watched herself and realizes she does not listen to others. She needs to open her ears and her heart and try to understand where other people are coming from. Empathy is her big takeaway. And I'm like, come on, growth. We'll see next season. Jenna says that she's never really had a group of girls that she can hang out with. And she feels that finally she has a group of girls that she wants to go and hang out with. Erin says that she takes things too personally and she wants to lighten up. She has a big mouth and she talks a lot, and some things she shouldn't say. I was like, okay, yeah, That's a start.
Everything. Right.
Everything. Jessel says she found that she should be a little kinder to her husband, or mind how she speaks to him or is with him, be more gentle, and maybe appreciate him a little more. And she makes a good point. She goes, when you're together for so long, you kind of get in this is just how we are. This is how we act. I want to be a little more attentive to him. Brynn says, I enjoyed watching myself, and I hope Mimi did too. And I'm like, girl, if we don't get Brynn back, I wouldn't be upset. Like, if she comes back, I'm not upset. I'm like, okay, cool, she's here. But if they decide not to bring her back, I'd be like, oh, okay, cool. Ubah says, and I know that she was being funny, but I kind of wish that she hadn't brought this up. But she says, I need to warn people before I turn to Ubah hot. I learned that whenever I'm really, amped up, sometimes people can't hear me. And I'm like, I really wish you wouldn't have apologized for that, because like they do need to hear you. Everybody heard Sai when she was screaming at Erin. Like, they can absolutely make space to hear you when you're screaming.
Thank you.
But she reiterates that she genuinely loves all of the ladies. They toast with Elvis's rum style cocktails. Andy quips, Jessel, we didn't forget you. The ladies end their inaugural season. Erin leads the toast, and it's boring as hell. And Brynn and Jenna share a kiss. It was stupid. Brynn and Jenna share a kiss, and we end the season out. So what did you think of their little takeaways or anything from this final wrap up?
I feel like I think is this probably the first time Andy's asked, like, how did you guys feel seeing yourselves on the show? What are you going to do different, or how did you take? I felt like that conversation normally at the end was new to me.
Yeah,
right.
I think normally he asks, like, what are your highs and your lows?
There we go. Got you. There we go. Got you. Yeah. So I was like, okay, that's kind of refreshing. I'm 50-50 about the takeaways. I absolutely believe Jessel 100%.
Yeah.
I do believe Sai, oddly. I mean, she can blame it on being hangry all you want. You're just a bitch. It's fine. Like, you're spelling bitch wrong. It's not HANGRY, but whatever. As much as I love her, I don't think Jenna should come back. She's too nice. She's too normal. Housewives is not for nice, and Housewives is not for normal. Those are two things you cannot be. You just can't. They're going to walk all over you. You're going to be crying every other episode. They're going to come for shit in your family you don't want no one to talk about, and not have zero remorse for it, and then go on Twitter rants. Jenna, I think this show will ruin her internally. I think it was fun. It was cute last season. I adore her too much to see her go through this process. Yeah, she got out alive. She got out unscathed. She got out unscathed this first season. Chef's kiss. Chef's kiss. Second season, you might not be so lucky. They might start unturning some stones and looking into what really happened when you got outed. And it only gets dirtier from here. It only gets dirtier from here. We see it happen every season. So I would love for her to just be a one season wonder, and we get somebody in that they can actually tussle with, that can tussle back, because I do hate seeing that people think that Jenna's just boring. She's not boring. She's just nice.
Don't mistake niceness for being boring.
Exactly. She's just nice. So that's the majority of what I got from the ending. And then, like you said, Ubah, girl, don't apologize for being you. Girl, bye.
Yeah. It definitely was a great season. I enjoyed it. There are definitely some takeaways. I hope that the ladies, they kind of started a little off because one of the cast members got fired like 2 weeks in, or quit, or got fired 2 weeks
over racism, right?
Alleged racism,
allegedly.
Like there was a couple of things, and it's interesting. So I know we're a little bit over time, but we'll really quickly touch on this. If anybody saw the Vanity Fair article, it came out about, particularly on the Real Housewives of New York, tons of racism, anti-blackness, microaggressions on the show from Ramona Singer, Luann de Lesseps, particularly in the final season, which kind of led to the show being canceled. I think that we all were very much aware that Bravo would much rather cancel a show, cancel a reunion, than address in-house issues. But that Vanity Fair article really had it had some bombs in there about
Goodness.
stuff that Ramona said around some of the, not just the Black cast, but Black production, Black crew
Despicable.
members. And Bravo, it's, somebody mentioned Bravo keeps gaslighting people of color, particularly the Black viewers. I mean, Ramona went on to star in Real Housewives Legacy that's supposed to be debuting in a month. Now we're hearing behind the scenes that maybe it's going to be put on pause or maybe canceled all together. So we say that too. At the beginning of this season, there was another cast member, Lizzie, who was also a social media influencer, I think.
Yeah.
There was, she's a matchmaker. And so from what was being reported, allegedly, this was all that was being reported, her and Brynn got into a little conversation because Brynn asked, do you set up your clients with people that aren't Jewish? Lizzie then allegedly said, I do, but I prefer to keep kind of everybody the same race within the same culture, just because we've got to keep our culture alive. And I don't like mixing, or something to that effect. To which Brynn responded, that's kind of the same thing that, segregation did. And people who are racist don't want Black and white people to mix. And Brynn then allegedly said, that's when people call me, and she said the N-word, you're basically saying you don't like to mix people because, of that. Lizzie got upset, went and allegedly told her husband. Her husband then called a meeting with production and verbatim, word for word, repeated what Brynn had said, complete with saying the full N-word. And production very quickly, allegedly, asked them to leave. But the story that came out afterwards was Lizzie had experienced mountains of anti-Semitic comments. She was a well-known Zionist, and she's very pro-Israel and very active in that. So Bravo released the statement that due to anti-Semitism, Lizzie herself made the decision to not come back. But it was very interesting reading in the Vanity Fair article the stuff that the same production company had already dealt with previously. It's no wonder why they were very quick to be like, nope, not on a reboot. But as Sierra pointed out, we're seeing some of the same like microaggressions and same stuff bubbling over. So it's interesting to see how they will navigate season 2. It's interesting to see how Bravo navigates this expose that Bethany Frankel is leading. I'm interested to see the people that blamed Ebony for the cancellation of the previous season. I'm interested to see what feedback that they have. But overall,
talk on it, Jamie. Talk on it.
Before we go, what are your final thoughts for the season?
I thought it was cute. I'm not even gonna lie, y'all. I thought it was cute. There wasn't an episode that I skipped. I didn't just fast forward a couple scenes when there's a couple people in it because how it is. I, honest to goodness, feel as though it was a solid first season. I thought that they did a good job with casting, except for Jenna. But I think Jenna in this season worked well. I just don't want to see her get hurt in the future. But I think it was a good first season. It wasn't amazing, but then I also feel like Bravo fans are so toxic right now that just because someone isn't ruining someone's marriage or making fun of their medical diagnosis, we feel like it sucks. Yeah. But we have to normalize ourselves, and that doesn't mean the season's bad. It just means that it's not as toxic. So I had to shake myself up and realize just because someone wasn't called a bitch across the room or a drink was thrown or, we had to figure out who texted who, just because that didn't happen every scene, just because someone wasn't called a whore every scene, doesn't mean the show wasn't good. I thought it was a good season. I
agree. I appreciate your take on Jenna. I would like to see her again, strictly because she was one of the ones that was the most vulnerable, the most open right off the bat.
But she's very relatable. Her apart, Jamie. They're gonna rip her apart.
I think she has a solid. Jessel definitely has her back and definitely likes her. Brynn, absolutely, but Brynn is also a flip flopper, so it's
Brynn don't even like herself. Brynn flipping herself, let alone everybody else.
But I enjoyed the season. I enjoyed the ladies. Some of them more than others. I am not on the boat where I want to see anybody fired. There are a few that if they decide
Okay.
not to bring back, I think everybody should come back. I think that for being first-time housewives, I think that
Okay.
they are learning a lot from themselves. It's
Right.
interesting to see how they move.
True.
Either they're going to stand in it with what they did, or we're going to see a Camille Grammer rebrand. And even still, Camille, when she was nice, she was still shady. So I appreciate
very, very, very.
overall.
So you're bringing
I enjoyed
everybody
it.
back. You're bringing
I'm bringing
everybody
everybody back. Maybe add
That's
another
fair.
person. I think adding one more person
Okay.
will shake up the dynamics. It'll shake up the dynamics.
It is a small group. There's only 5 girls,
Yeah,
right? It
there's
is
only
pretty.
5
I mean,
girls.
compared to Beverly Hills, I think Beverly Hills only has like 8. Or last season
38.
they had like 8 girls or
Potomac's
52
got
or
like
something
9
like that,
now.
right? Yeah, it's too much.
Yeah. And I think that probably impacted how the season went. When you have a group small like that, I think Jersey was one of the only ones who had a smaller group, but they had already known each other for years and had been together. So there was already dynamics. When you're first bringing on, you need maybe a larger cast to get people really like in the mix and
Interesting.
Stuff. But
okay.
overall, I liked it. And so I
Okay.
want to tell you, Love, thank you so much. This is your first panel that you've been on with the Lean. Thank you so much for joining the first time that we've recapped RHONY on this. My first job hosting. Thank you to everybody who tuned in every single week. Thank you to everybody who tuned in tonight. We see a lot of regulars. Sean S., Sierra Content, L Vision. We've got Naya in the chat. Thank you to the Lean people who are in there.
Yes.
Sammy, Tonio, Jasmine, Latasha. Thank you guys so much. Again, there's a lot of opinions that we have in here. Sometimes we get shady on here, but ultimately I want to thank everybody in the chat for staying respectful, understanding that we all have our opinions, having some great discourse, for really joining and supporting our channel. Be sure to like, subscribe, and share this video. If you like myself and Love, be sure to check us out Wednesday nights live after the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. Thursday night, we will also be recapping the Real Housewives of Miami. We're still trying to figure out when we're coming back with the Real Housewives of Salt Lake City. If you like Chase, it is his birthday. Leave him a birthday message. But also Bell Collective is coming back. He's going to be hosting that show. Real Housewives of Potomac is coming back. We've got Sammy, Danny, and Jasmine. They're going to be on there. We've got Married to Medicine, where Sammy and Jasmine, Chase, all of your favorites are going to be there. It is a busy season. Busy season. We've got Dream and Miss Shantae. They're going to be joining different panels. Tune in. You're going to find a favorite. Thank you guys so much on this journey with us. We really, really appreciate you guys. Have a fantastic night, and we will see you the next time we meet in.
Thank you, Jamie, for killing this franchise.
I
We
appreciate it.
you.
I hope I didn't kill it. I hope it comes back. I don't want to kill it.
You'll be back for season 2.
You guys have a great night. I love you guys. Take care of yourselves. Oh, wait. I have to put the out. I've got to talk. See, I can't talk and do 2 things at once. Y'all have a great night.
Bye, y'all.